Hello and welcome back to Sarah's Texture Crafts. This is my Gymming and Fibre podcast. I am Sarah, your host, and today is New Year's Eve. Yes, I am looking a little bit stunned. This Christmas break has just gone so quickly. I can't quite work out what day it is, but bear with me. I am okay, I promise. I'm probably going to be looking sort of over in this direction today because I'm actually recording from a new device, which means I have the advantage or disadvantage, depending on how you see it, as actually being able to see myself as I record, which is very distracting. And kind of reminds me that I'm not looking at my best today. So yeah, bear with me. Right, okay, I think we ought to get started. Today's going to be a kind of quick and dirty podcast. Essentially, I haven't got a huge amount of content, it being Christmas break, and having had the last week or so off, and a few more days off to come. Haven't got a huge amount in terms of shop and that kind of thing to talk about. So I thought I would show you some FOs, some things that I've finished over the break, and a couple of things that I've picked up again that I'm working on. I also wanted to give you a little bit of heads up of what will be coming to the shop this month. A couple of things that I wanted to mention right off the top is there are still some places for Fibre Club left. All the details are on the website. Prices start from £21 before shipping. I can ship anywhere in the UK, Europe or overseas, so you can buy that direct from the website or contact me via email, and I can send you a PayPal invoice for your desired club option. There are plenty of options, plenty of bases, and as I say, all the details are on the website, so there are a few spots left. They will close at the end of January, but I would love to get them closed up early so that I can order the lovely fibre and get started and start that development. The other thing I wanted to mention that I will talk about at the end is I had a massive shipment of wool tops that came in from the mill. These are all of the fleeces that I went to farms to pick out earlier in the year, so it's really fantastic to have them back in house, and the tops are amazing, absolutely amazing. So please stay tuned and listen out for the different types of breeds that you'll be able to get. Again, you will find those all on the website, coming up probably over the next couple of weeks. So let's get started. I'm in a different location. Reason, okay. Well, this brings me into my month in review. It's been a manic month, a great month and a bad month, kind of one of those real sort of topsy-turvy months. It started badly. When I recorded the last episode, I think it was the end of November, I can't remember the date, it might have been like the 26th of November or something. I recorded the podcast, managed to get it uploaded, and was feeling really bright and chirpy and really Christmassy, really excited about December and getting those last orders out and all of that kind of thing. I'd gone upstairs to take some of my craft bits and pieces back up to the stock room so that I could get ready for packing orders later that evening to go out the next day. Came back down the stairs and promptly fell down the stairs. No idea how I did it, but let me tell you, it hurt. It really hurt. I cracked along the top of my back, so just under my shoulder blades I landed. I was walking down the stairs and I don't know whether there was something on the stairs or whether my footing just slipped. All I knew is the next thing, my feet were up in the air and I was thinking to myself, how did this happen? I have no idea what I'm doing in the air, but this is going to hurt. And it did, because I didn't land on my feet. I landed directly on my back, so just under the shoulder blades. Came down with, gravity as it pulls you down, and it came down with an absolute crack. The next thing I knew, I was on my feet. I hadn't hit my head, hadn't hit anything else, I'd just hit my back. I was on my feet and I was sort of crouched over, running around, because obviously really badly winded myself. At the same time, the dog had realised I'd hurt myself, so as I came into the living room, obviously started feeling a bit dizzy, sort of lay down on the floor, so I've got the dog in my face trying to lick my eyes and my nose and make sure that I'm still okay. And then Darren came in, so it was only just before Darren came home, which was okay, because of course, you know, he found me, and you know, after I'd managed to get my breath back, we'd worked out that, you know, I don't think anything was broken. So yeah, I was laid up for a few days. I mean, I managed to move around a bit, but yeah, really in quite a lot of pain. But it was all muscular, and obviously I bruised my spine and the back of my ribs. I don't think I broke anything. I didn't end up going to the doctors, and I know you're going to shout at the screen at me, but I once I'd got up, I'd managed to move around, and I'd, you know, move my arms up. I could, you know, I had no tingling sensation in my fingertips. You know, I could move the rest of my body. I could actually, you know, swivel quite nicely. So we'd worked out that nothing was broken, and I kept testing that daily, and it was fine. And once the initial bruising went down, I mean, I still feel a bit achy now, but it's minute amount. In fact, I'm almost better. So my advice to you is just be careful when you go down the stairs. Ooh, silly girl. Anyway, we got through that, and December turned into a hugely busy month in the shop. So a huge thank you to everyone who bought pre-Christmas. You made my December. By far it was the best December I think I've ever had online, so it was absolutely fantastic. Sold lots of wheels, yeah, sold lots of wool as well, and really managed to get everything out on time. Also, a thank you to Royal Mail, because, you know, it's quite often that we complain about Royal Mail not delivering stuff on time, and I have to say, with the occasional, you know, the sort of occasional few that seem to slip through and get delayed somewhere, somehow, most things arrived the next day, which was fantastic. That's quite unusual for Royal Mail, and I'm thankful to them for being able to deliver on time. What happened next? Oh, yeah. And so if that wasn't good enough news, the next thing that really topped that was I decided that I would, one evening, I think I was bored of watching whatever was on the TV. I don't know, maybe Darren was watching something I wasn't particularly keen on, maybe like a football documentary or something, I don't know. Anyway, he was watching whatever it was, and I decided to get on my iPad and, you know, surf the internet as you do. And I noticed a couple of competitions from blogs that I read, you know, enter to win a free pattern or win a skein of yarn, that kind of thing. So I decided to enter them, as you do, because I thought, well, you know, why not? If you don't try, you don't get. So I entered one on Craft Blog UK, and that was to win an iPad Air. All you had to do was to leave a comment at the end of that particular blog, and I think you had to give details of what you would do as for last minute crafting, for gifts, that kind of thing, or a way of using up scraps or something. I can't quite remember, so I thought of something, posted my entry, and lo and behold, I got an email back from the author of the blog, and it said, "Congratulations, you've won an iPad Air." Oh my god. So of course, me being me, I thought, and I'll put this into context, if you've ever sold on eBay, you will know what I mean. Once you start selling on places like eBay, you get a ton of spam emails. an absolute ton. I mean, if I get 50 emails in a day, I can guarantee that probably 20% of that is spam. So I'm used to getting a lot of spam and not necessarily believing what I get via email. So I looked at this email and I recognised the name and I knew that I'd entered this competition, but I didn't believe it. Just totally didn't believe it. Anyway, the email said to CC my reply with my shipping details, not to go back to her, but to also to CC this gentleman who works for the media company on behalf of Halifax, who were sponsoring the giveaway and giving away the iPad Air. So I went and checked him out. I found the media company and I tried to see if this guy worked for this media company. Anyway, everything came back looking like it was kosher, as it were. So I replied and I thought, well, you know, it's no big thing to put my shipping details out there, because essentially I have to have my contact details on my website anyway as part of the you know, long distance selling laws and things like that. So I went ahead and sent it, and I thought, well, you know, if it is a bit of spam, then all I'll probably get is a load of spam either through the post or more via email. And if it is an iPad Air, then in a couple of days it'll arrive. So I'll take that chance. So I sent it off, got a couple of emails back from the media guy. He was, you know, really chatty, really nice. And lo and behold, a couple of days later, my iPad Air turned up. I cannot tell you how overexcited I was. And that's what I'm recording on now, which is a completely new gadget to me. So, I mean, it's not too far removed from my iPhone, which I normally record on, but things work slightly differently because my iPhone is a much older generation. And this has got all sort of new bells and whistles on, and yes, it's one of my most favourite Christmas presents. So yay! A frown turned into a smile. Yay! What else happened? Yeah, I kind of broke up for Christmas and all was going well. The only things of note really was to say that I just had a lovely Christmas, so I really hope that you had a great Christmas too, and that you're going to have a really fantastic New Year's Eve tonight, and whatever you're doing. We're going to stay home because our dog is still sick. Poor old Patch is still not well, and I will... Yeah, okay, let's talk about it. I wasn't going to say too much because I'm a little bit sort of teary and nervous and stressed and all of those kind of things. Essentially, I gave her, I think it was back on the 20th of December, so it was my last day of work, and she is allergic to the spot-ons we've found. The spot and flea treatments, the carrier that they use, the alcohol that they use to carry the flea medication, if you like, actually sparks an allergic reaction and burns her skin. So it's got to the point where I'd said, you know, I cannot use this on my dog anymore, because they were very, very reluctant to put her on any kind of oral medication for flea treatment. So we went to the vets and we ended up on this new drug, and it's called Comfortis, and it's an oral flea treatment. And essentially, I was told that the first 2-3 times that she will take the drug, there's a really good chance that she's going to actually be sick. So she's going to vomit, have diarrhea, all of those kinds of things. And she might run possibly a little bit of a temperature, but they said 99% of dogs who take this will have those side effects. We gave her the first treatment back in November and she was fine. But I had noticed with the other spot and flea treatments that the first time I give her these things, she's fine. The second time, not so great. And then the third time, it's really not good at all. So, needless to say, I was quite hesitant at giving her this Comfortus tablet. So, I gave her the tablet. I decided I would do a little bit of admin, just tie up some paperwork and make the day quite easy. My final post had gone, so I thought, well, you know, I can be nearby just in case she's not very well. Wasn't sick, was fine again, but she developed, within an hour, she developed this real temperature. I mean, she was hot like a radiator to touch. And normally she's a warm dog, but she's not hot like this. This was I'm not very well hot. So of course I started to worry a little bit, but that seemed to calm down. And then she was a little bit tired, and she'd sort of picked herself up again. And by the evening she wasn't so bad. Anyway, the next morning, couldn't get her out of bed. She was extremely lethargic. She just really didn't look well. She looked like she possibly had like a headache. But she just wasn't walking. Her ears were down. She didn't want to go for the morning walk. It was a real, you know, you had to sort of almost kick her out the door to get her to go. It wasn't very good. So we took her to the vets, and the vet said occasionally, and it's very, very rare, but some dogs will have a lethargic and temperature reaction to this drug. If it carries on for a few days, then it could be the tablet. So let's give her an injection to bring that temperature down, because I think she was a little bit high that day. And then we'll go from there. So anyway, the injection seemed to do the trick, because by the evening she was fine. Sunday she got bad again, so back down the doctors on the Monday before Christmas. They put her on a course of antibiotics and some more of the temperature regulating medication. And essentially at that time we thought it was a virus. The vet also took some bloods as well. She said she didn't think it was anything to do with the Comfortus, so she wanted to take these bloods, so we did that, and the bloods came back clear. So essentially it was a virus of unknown origin, so we just keep on the medication and hopefully that will put everything straight. Then after that she started to develop this cough. So it got to Christmas Eve and we ended up down the vets again. I've never had a dog before that's had a cough, so I wasn't really quite sure whether she was almost trying to be sick or, you know, had something stuck, or whether it was like a genuine chesty cough. So anyway, the vet said it could possibly be kennel cough, so we'll take her off the medication she's on and put her on a lung-specific antibiotic, and hopefully that will do the trick. Again, her temperature was up, even though we were using that temperature regulatory medication. So Christmas wasn't great for the dog. She was really coughing and not having a brilliant time. So I think, what day did we go back to the vets? 27th, I think. This time we saw a different vet because they'd swapped shifts, and he was a bit more concerned that it probably wasn't kennel cough, that in fact it was an infection or something. He said that her lungs sounded clear, but she was running an even higher temperature. So at the moment we are on some extra antibiotics, and we're going to see in 5 days' time if that does any good. If not, then she's going to have to go in and be put under general anaesthetic to have some x-rays done, possibly some more blood work and some other exploratory sort of examinations, because they're not sure what it is, and they are, I think he is kind of concerned that it might be some sort of something stuck somewhere, or that it could possibly be lungworm. Now I thought we, within the treatments that we give her, had covered lungworm, but apparently the drugs that we give her in terms of treatments, monthly treatments and 3 monthly treatments, are not really geared towards lungworm. So I'm like, oh, you know, I mean, I've grown up with dogs, but this is the first time I've owned a dog, so I kind of need to know what to do. So you ask these questions. So to find out that you thought you were covered and actually you're not really covered, is a bit annoying, a bit frustrating, and a bit upsetting as well. She's not doing too badly today. She's coughed for the first time in a couple of days, so trying to keep an eye on that. I think what hasn't helped as well is that the last couple of days, yesterday and today, I'm having to label up some of my braids of wool, and I have to get started because Craft for Crafters is coming up at the end of January, and there's no way I'm going to be ready if I don't do some of the labelling now. So I don't know whether the fibre in the air has sort of irritated her a little bit, so I'm trying to keep my work to a minimum, and we'll just see how it goes. But yeah, we've had I have to say we've had some sleepless nights with her, and yeah, been pretty worried, still very worried about her. And I embarrassed myself by crying in the vets as well. I ended up having to explain to the vet about what's happened over the last couple of years, and I just said, you know, like, we lost a couple of kids, and this dog is just everything to us. So I absolutely cannot lose this dog. You do not understand. So yeah, it was a bit embarrassing, but you know, you kind of get to that point where you just get so frustrated, wound up, upset by it all as well, and sort of worried that yeah, sometimes a little cry makes you feel better for a little while. But yeah, so I felt completely embarrassed. I mean, they were completely fine about it, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that's done that in the vet's office. But there we go. So that was my month in review, kind of full of dramas, but also full of some really good stuff as well. So I don't want to detract too much from that and make this a drama-filled episode. It's fine. The dog will be fine. We'll find out what this is and get it sorted. You know, it's one of those things. Okay, so what else do I need to talk about? Well, I'm going to start by showing you a couple of FOs, and then I will show you a work in progress that I picked up for the first time since April. I think April or May when I last knit on it. Okay, so I think we should get started. Last time I was with you, I showed you one of these, no, I think it was this one actually, one of my fingerless mitts. Now I managed to not only finish that, I think I had the thumb left to finish, but I knit the other one. These are in a yarn that was spun and knit for me by one of my Ravelry friends. She's in the Sara's Texture Crafts group, and this was part of our Christmas swap. So the idea was that you spin up 100 grams of yarn, just a basic 2-ply yarn, and you then package that up, send it on to your giftee, who spends whatever is remaining of December and January to knit up a product. My yarn came in 2 50-gram skeins, so I managed to use to get 2 pair of mitts out of 50 grams, which was lovely. It's the yarn is beautiful. It's Blueface Leicester mix, and I forget off the top of my head what it's mixed with. It's a quick and dirty show today, so there might not be much in the way of details and particulars of yarns and patterns and that kind of thing. So what I suggest to you is to find me on Ravelry. I'm Sarah's Texture Craft on Ravelry. If you check me out over there, you will be able to find projects and then details of the yarns as well. There are a couple of projects I will need to update details on, but I will do that at some point quite soon. So if you have any questions, just pop me an email, send me a PM, and I will get back to you with the answers. But yeah, I mean, a beautiful yarn. My giftie, she was really concerned that being quite a new spinner, that her yarn wouldn't be quite good enough to knit with. You know, that I would in some way find it substandard. I have to say, it is fantastic. I mean, if I show you that, you can see you've got some really good stitch definition. You've got some really great colours that have come out in her spinning. I think she used a bat that she purchased. I'm not sure where she purchased it from. I think it was a UK supplier though. And as you can see, it knit up really well, so I'm really, really pleased with that. The pattern itself, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head what it is. Let me see if I've got a pattern. Hold on a second. Okay, I'm back. So I found the pattern because I had printed it out for me so that I could take it with me if we went visiting people. These are called the Short and Sweet Fingerless Mitts, and they are essentially a pretty standard fingerless mitt up the top there, but then they have this lace detail at the bottom. Now these aren't blocked, so in an ideal world that would be, you know, quite pinned out and you would get this diamond shape. The reason why I haven't blocked them is, and this is the first time I really knit a full pair of fingerless mitts. Normally I would knit them and not bother to pick up for the thumb. So this was the first time I'd done, you know, a whole thumb gusset and picked up for the thumb and things. So this was quite complex for me, really. So yeah, I probably, if I knit them again, I could probably cut off maybe about 8 to 10 stitches, because I do have quite small hands. So I think there's really not a huge amount of point in me blocking out this particular piece. I suppose I could give it a quick steam press with the iron. That might not be too bad. But if I block it out to stretch it into shape, my wrist then becomes way too big. And it's already quite big as it is. Great pattern, easy to knit. As I said, the yarn is wonderful. There were a couple of modifications I made. I believe I extended the ribbing. Instead of making one to increase for the thumb, I actually did yarn overs because I thought it would mirror the lace work here quite nicely if I carried that up there and sort of bring the design together. I didn't do ribbing on the thumb. I didn't really feel that I needed to actually, and what I did also is I decreased a little bit further for the thumb so that I've got quite a tight fit, because my thumbs generally do get quite cold if I'm out walking or if I'm working and it's you know, if I'm doing a show or something. So I wanted to be able to have some quite tight fitting thumbs so that these would be great work gloves as well, so that I could wear them to shows and things. So yeah, really pleased. I think if I make it again, as I say, I would decrease some of the stitches on the hand, and I think I would probably lengthen this wrist area, because I would probably wear my gloves like that, so this you know, after a while walking the dog, this tends to flip out, which then gives me a bit of a cold wrist. So I think I would probably extend it. There were details in the pattern if you wanted to extend to, you know, sort of to get to this point and then continue knitting before you start increasing for the thumb. So it wouldn't have been hugely difficult to do that. But at that point in time, at the very beginning of the first mitt particularly, I hadn't kind of imagined that I would need them to be longer, really. So that's it. Really nice, really warm. The yarn is beautiful. These are by far the warmest, because in the past when I've knit myself fingerless mitts, I've tended to use sock yarn with a bit of nylon in, and actually they aren't as warm, I don't find, as these, which are 100% wool. So I think next time I make myself some fingerless mitts, I will spin to knit. I think that's a really good use of hand spun, and I'm really enjoying them. I think they're going to be some really hard wearing gloves. So thank you for my gift, and here's my finished object. Really pleased. Now, of course, I did, from that 50 grams skein of yarn, I did have a little bit left over. What I wanted to do, and what I'd said I would do in the gift thread, in the Christmas swap thread, is that I would make Christmas decorations, because what I felt would be really nice to come out from the Christmas swap is to be able to have something that I could keep, something that maybe I could get out annually at Christmas time that would make me think of the friends that I've made through Ravelry and through being Sarah's Texture Crafts. So I had picked this pattern, which is Fancy Balls by Tin Can Knits. There we go. So I wanted to do these elongated baubles. The pattern is very easy to follow, and you could easily do different variations. This is my first ever colour work project. I've never done any sort of intarsia or colour work other than sort of other than stripes, really. So this was quite a nice introduction, and a great way to learn about floats. And here it is, my little elongated bauble with my snowflake. Now you will notice as I turn that they didn't go so well on that side, and then I ended up with a half one, and I don't really know how I did that, but you know, I can pop it on the tree and have this one facing out and no one would know that I'd made a mistake. But I don't think anyone would know I've made a mistake anyway, looking at it, apart from that back seam. I think this was the only thing I didn't do correct to pattern. On the pattern, she would prefer you to knit circular, but I just really, with those few amount of stitches, I just really didn't want to do that. So I ended up doing it flat and then sewing it together and adding in the stuffing as I went. So I really love that, and that stays on my tree, so I'll pop that back up here so we can see it as we talk. There we go. What else did I finish? I've started a couple of other things. I did finish a new shawl pattern which will come out later this year. That's my Exmouth shawl, so please look out for that. Really enjoyed knitting that. It's a sideways shawl construction, and it uses I think about 400 grams of hand spun. Again, you could use commercial yarn to do it. The way I'm trying to do all of my hand spun patterns is that you will be able to use commercial yarn as well, and I will give you weights and you know, things like that within the pattern. So I'm hoping to probably have to wait till spring, and then I will go to the beach on Exmouth and take some pictures, just so we've got something nice for the pattern page on Ravelry. So I'm looking forward to that, very excited for that, and really enjoyed knitting on that. Darren had asked me a while ago, he had found a skein of my fall leaves in my Blueface Leicester Aran strict chunky weight, and I had knit a snood for my snood stroke cowl for myself, and he had loved it, and he really loved this colour, which did particularly well at the shows. So he asked if I could keep one of the skeins back for him and knit him a hat. So of course I did, and this is it. The way I dyed this yarn is that it's essentially 3 colours, so it was quite a variegated dye method, kettle dye method, which is my usual method for dyeing up my yarns and my fibres as well. So you don't get exact amounts of stretch of one colour to the next, to the next, to the next. You might get a hit here, a hit there, that might be longer than this bit, and so on. But it means that when you come to knit, you get lots of different types of effects. Now, if I had hand spun full leaves, then I probably would have got a much more graduated and striped effect going from colour to colour all the way up. But this knitting from this yarn over this number of stitches gave me a nice pooled effect. Now, I know that some people aren't kind of so keen on the pooling effect, but I have to say that I really love it. I really loved that whole zigzag look, and I think it came out really nice. And what was great was when it decreased, you get this sort of whirlpool of colour, and I just love it. Now, it probably won't suit me, but I'll take my hair out. And apologies for looking a bit of a mess today, but as I said, on doggy watch, I'm kind of a tired girl. So yeah, it's not really suiting me, but you get the idea of how it looks on. And if I can bend down far enough, you can see that swirl on top, which is quite nice. So yeah, he loves it. He's worn it, I think, every day since I made it, and it only took a couple of days. I've got the pattern page up, but I haven't got a picture for that on Ravelry, and if I remember right, it's called the Man Hat. The lovely thing about this pattern is that you have some, it's like a textured rib. So it's, you know, you do some texture, and then you have, well, I won't tell you too much because I can't remember if it's a free or a paid for pattern, so check it out. The pattern is certainly linked on my Ravelry page, Sarah's Texture Craft. So check that out. I don't know whether you can see that actually, whether it will focus, but you've got the central rib and then you've got a texture going up in between. I wasn't sure how much of the texture would show up, seeing as the yarn was so brightly coloured, but actually it does show up quite nicely. And the other cool thing about this hat is that it could be reversible as well, so you get a completely different texture on the inside. Actually, do you know what? I think this colourway would work really nicely on a bucket hat. Look at that. I think it would be really cute. Anyway, so that's the hat. As I say, it didn't take me long to do. Really enjoyed knitting it. I love the feel of Blue Face Leicester. Love it. So that was that one. And then also got my sewing machine out, which is the first time in years that I've had my sewing machine out. So I made a couple of things from the fat quarters that I showed you earlier in the year. So one is, I just did a quick Christmas stocking, and this is for Patch. So nothing too fancy. It's just essentially the fat quarter folded in half and sewn up and seamed, and some ribbon on the top. So I did that for her, and then I got these fat quarters. Well, they weren't fat quarters, sorry, they were small quilting squares. What magazine was it? I can't remember. might have been a new sewing magazine. You know how they, when they bring out a series of, you know, over the next 20 weeks, once you buy this magazine weekly, you'll be able to make your first quilt. It was one of those magazines, and with the first issue they gave you needles, embroidery threads, and some fabric swatches as well. So I got this, I decided to buy a copy because it reminded me almost a bit of Cath Kidston, and it was this really cute little holiday scene. It's not a huge bag, possibly hold a pair of socks, but actually I'm going to use it for my tiny spindles. I have the full Ashford set of spindles, but I also have some smaller ones. I've got, well, Darren bought me actually for Christmas a really lovely Turkish spindle, which as soon as I've got some fibre on it I'll show you. So I thought it would be cute to turn these into little project bags, and then I can take one of those along with me. I didn't do anything fancy, there's no fancy seaming inside, it's you know, it's quite raw, but it's just for me, so it's fine. It's just a quick little thing. And then I made a channel with the ribbon on the top to hold my string, which I just braided. Nothing fancy, it's just a braid, and then added a toggle. The toggles I think cost me about 59p for two, so I got a couple of project bags out of that purchase of toggles. So that was a little cute one, and it's spotty on the back. And then the last one I did is bigger. I do have a project bag which was made for me by Rosie Retro, who I completely recommend. If you're after really well-made project bags, then check out her shop. She's over on Etsy, Rosie Retro she's called. I think you can also find her on Facebook, and you can probably find her on Twitter and places like that, but do check out her shop on Etsy. But that's more of a sock knitting bag, so what I wanted was something that would be just a little bit bigger. So I took the fat quarter and literally folded it in half in the same way I did for the stocking. So this is like a long stocking shape. It's not hugely wide, but it's tall. So yeah, probably not a conventional shape for a knitting bag, but actually this fits quite nicely into the big bag that I carry around with me. So beside that I can have, you know, treats for the dog, I can carry my iPad, I can, you know, have all my other bits and pieces in my bag. And if I want to take something like a sweater with me to work on somewhere, or a shawl, then this is the bag I will do it in. The fabric is well, I bought it in Brixham, and if you go back to I think it was probably this October episode, I will tell you details of where I purchased the fabric, but as you can see, you've got all, it really does remind me of Brixham actually, because you've got all the little houses that are sort of cram-packed together. You've got the lighthouse, and then, you know, sort of little beach scenes, that kind of thing. And it's just a really cute pattern, and it really simple, and it's just two colour construction, but yeah, we like it. It reminds me of a really good day out. So again, I made a channel on either side using the ribbon, and then what I did for this one is I had two bits of string, so I braided them again to put the toggle on the end, and did the same the other side so that I can draw it closed. It's a little bit more fiddly than you know, than my other project bag. Probably what I should have done is had one loop of string go down and around and up, and then another string from this end up, around and down out that side, and then when I pulled it tight it would naturally close in the middle. But you know, it's just for me, it's nothing, I'm not claiming it to be anything special. I'm certainly not going to go into production and start making project bags. They're just for me, they're just a bit of fun. There we go, I enjoyed making them. So those are my FOs. Didn't get as much as I kind of wanted to get done. I was desperate to do the fawn hat, which was from the Woodland Knits book that I showed you in the last episode, which is a book by Tiny Owl Knits, if I remember right. But after I fell down the stairs, and then with the dog, and then, you know, just the shop being busy, and Christmas is always busy, isn't it? It doesn't matter how much rest you think you're going to get over the Christmas break, it just always seems to be busy. So I just didn't get it done. I didn't get any more done, I think, than I showed you last time, which was one bobbin of the base colour Blueface Leicester. So I might pick that up later today. I'm going to see how it goes, but I wouldn't imagine that I would do an awful amount of crafting over the next month, because, as I say, I've got Craft for Crafters at the end of the month, so yeah, I think I'm going to be a bit pushed for time, because I'll probably spend the evenings labelling and stuff. So, but there we go. The last thing I did pick up that you haven't seen, and sorry for the movement in the camera, is my sorry, that's my needles, Marbellamy cowl, which is a striped cowl where you use 4 colours and you swap those stripes around. Now, I was knitting on this really well, and last time I showed it to you, it had massive holes. So it had a big hole there and a big hole there, because shortly after we got Patch, aside from chewing up a couple of other things, she decided that she was going to chew up yarn. She's since sort of grown out of that little phase, thankfully, because there's quite a lot of woolen yarn in this house. But this project then languished, because it got to the point where, you know, I just didn't really want to knit on it, because I knew it would meant grafting together, and I wasn't really confident in my skills, and in fact I didn't end up grafting together. What I did was, say for example there's a hole there, what I did is I popped the cord from some circulars in there, threaded it all through every single stitch, and then did the same on this side with a different cord. I then cut down the middle where the hole was and ripped back those stitches. So I had you know, live stitches here and live stitches there. What I could have done, and what I should have done, what I wanted to do, was to then Kitchener stitch them together, so you wouldn't have noticed any difference and you know, any problem being there at all. But I'm not brilliant at the Kitchener stitch, I'll be honest. I've done it a couple of times, and I've done it on this cowl in the past, and it worked really successfully. But I tried it for my first pair of socks, and on something else, I can't remember what it was, and it just didn't come out right, and I had to go back and do it several times, and even in the end, after probably about 3 or 4 attempts, it still didn't look right. So what I decided was I would do a 3-needle bind off, and it has kind of cinched it in, but it gave me an idea for how to finish the yarn, because of course, having cut out those holes, I was then short by probably about this much where the holes were. So it was probably down about, I don't know, about 6, 7 stripes, which is quite a lot of length. And the idea of this cowl, and I'm sorry, I am looking at myself, but it's trying to work out what I'm showing you, is that once it's all joined together, you should be able to double wrap it like I have on this. But I've just found that even knitting, you know, finishing this last stripe, I just don't have enough length. So what I've decided is I'm going to do a garter stripe, a bold garter stripe of each colour at the end. so it will give me, you know, a sort of point of difference from maybe everybody else's that have been knit in this pattern. But it will also give me the length, and it will also join up with the 3 needle bind off detail that I've got coming through in a couple of the stripe areas where I had the holes. So there's a method to that madness, and I'm hoping that it'll work out. But it was nice to actually pick up a languishing project, because I had for the longest time really thought that I would probably end up just throwing it away. And I'd spent clearly so much time knitting it in the first place, which is why I was so disappointed when I found it chewed, that I thought I really need to make some effort to get it finished and actually, you know, sort of move on with it. So I'm working on that. What else am I working on? I started working on a hat from a book that I'm going to review at some point soon. I'm not going to do a huge amount of knitting on that over the next couple of days, because I'm having to use chunky weight yarn on 3.25 needles. That really hurts. I think I did 8 rows yesterday, which was like the sort of start ribbing of the hat and then just into the main body of the hat, and my fingers just really hurt. So I think that will be, you know, pick it up and do a couple of rows every day or every other day kind of thing. Aside from that, I'm waiting for January the 1st, for tomorrow, so that I can cast on for my malachite cowl knit along. This is my pattern. This is a spin and knit pattern. If I show you up close, it's a very easy detailed pattern. I made a simple 2-ply yarn, and the eyelet details allow what would normally be, if you were just knitting in a garter or a stockinette, would normally be a stripe. It gives you these sort of horizontal stripes, which is quite nice. In this yarn I used a merino tencel, so hopefully you can see there where you've got the pickup of the where the tencel is, you've got that sort of slight sparkle. It's merino and tencel, so it's really lovely and soft. Of course, if you want to join in, this is on the Ravelry group at Sarah's Texture Crafts, and the pattern is £1.50. It's a beginner pattern, so you don't have to be a super advanced spinner, and you don't have to be a super advanced knitter. If you are just a knitter and not a spinner, you can still join in and knit the pattern using commercial yarn. I've given some details about that within the knit along thread, but I thought it would just be fun to maybe either use stash or something that you've got for Christmas, and to spin and knit along with us in January. I'm probably going to keep the thread open probably till the end of February. There's no prizes or anything, it's just purely for personal gratification. And of course, if you are a new spinner and you want some advice and some help, then there are a really nice bunch of spinners in our group, so everyone's there to give you help and advice. So feel free to sort of chirp up with any questions, or just offer your help and support to other people who are there. Okay, so my video cut out there, sorry about that. So yeah, finished talking about my FOs and things, and also about the malachite cowl spin along, knit along. I'm going to actually use a commercial yarn for my version and not do the spinning. As much as I would love to join in the spinning this time, I'll be absolutely honest with you, with Craft for Crafters coming up at the end of January, I'm just not going to have time to get to the wheel and then knit something as well, so I thought I would start this in some commercial yarn, and I'll probably use some Manos de Uruguay Wool Classica that I've got lying around. So that's it for my crafting. I just want to quickly mention, because I'm pretty sure, even though I said this would be a quick and dirty episode, that it's not at all. It's probably about 50 minutes so far. So I thought I would give a quick mention again about the sort of shop update. As you know, I have plenty of stock in the shop, but there won't be a huge amount of new items, which is what I call my shop update this coming January, purely because all of my production is going for the show at the end of January. So what will you have? You'll have a couple of new luxury blends. These have come in and they are absolutely stunning. So I'm really hoping that you will embrace those. They won't be available at Craft for Crafters, but I will be taking them to Wonderwall Wales if I can get my confirmation for the stall in the next few weeks. What else will I have? I will have all of the wool that has come in from the mills. So these are the straight from the farm tops. They've worked out slightly more expensive this year just because the price of fleece has gone up, but also the price of transit to get that wool up to the mill has gone up significantly, and then also the cost of processing has increased. But what you have got is some superb quality tops. So at the moment they're looking like retailing for about £7 per 100 grams, so I'll probably sell them in increments of 50 grams and 100 grams. You will have a selection of different fibres right through from Manx Lockton to Svarbles. What else have I got? I've got Clin, I've got Romney, I've got Ryland. I think that might be it. Sure, I've got more. Oh, I've got Hebridean. And let me tell you this, normally when you see a Hebridean fleece or, for example, a Ryland fleece, you think, oh, it's not going to come out so brilliantly. And certainly when you see commercially spun yarns of just those purebreds, if they've not come from hand-selected fleeces, but they've come instead from just a whole batch of fleeces that have come from the wool marketing board, from the wool board, then you'll get a range of fleeces within that grade. So they might be buying top grade quality, but you'll get the best mixed in with, you know, probably the least representative of that grade. So you might get a yarn that maybe feels a bit scratchy, a bit kempy, those kind of things. When you go to a farm and you select a high grade fleece, you have it processed on its own and prepared into tops on its own, you get a completely different product, So for example, the Hebridean. Now I know that most people are like, oh, I don't really want to touch a Hebridean, it's not going to give me, it's going to be coarse and harsh and all of that kind of stuff. This Hebridean has come back so beautiful. It is like it's spinning from Wensleydale black locks. It's a beautiful, luscious, lustrous looking top. It's really sleek and I think is going to spin like absolute butter. So if you haven't tried it, this is a great way to try it because you're getting, you know, the top grade stuff. So I'll have that in the shop. I will also have an amount of each of those bases at Craft for Crafters as well at the end of the month. So do come and check those out. If there's any left, I'm sure there will be plenty left because I don't see them being huge sellers because, you know, customers, if they like Blueface, Leicester and Merino, that's probably what they'll invest in mostly, particularly online if they can't get to touch the tops themselves. Although I do urge you to get out your comfort zone and, you know, just give them, even just try 50 grams that you can then ply against a merino or something like that. You really won't be disappointed. So I hope that there will be plenty for Wonderwall Wales and maybe subsequent shows. Depending on how well they do will determine on how much I will have made this next coming year. Mentioned Fibre Club right at the top of the show, so a quick mention for that again. If you haven't booked your place and you want to, you've got till the end of the month or before then if the final few spots close out. Sorry, you can hear me talking in the background. My computer is starting to process the video that I've already taken, so let's ignore that. The next thing to think about is Great British Wool Club. that's going to be up and coming. The details for that club are actually on the website already. Although you can't purchase it, you can certainly sign up for it. So to sign up, all you need to do is drop your email address in the email alert box right at the top of the page where it says this item is out of stock. Please pop in your email here to receive an alert. Then as soon as it goes into stock, you will be notified before anybody else. Essentially, the Great British Wool Club will be an opportunity to try different bases, different breeds. They'll all be in top form. So again, if you are an overseas customers, this is a fantastic way for you to try British breeds, because they won't be in raw fleece form, and they'll be in a form that you will be able to receive through your customs departments. I think that's probably pretty much it in terms of a shop update. So that's it from me today. I think that's quite enough of me blathering on for what was supposed to be a quick and dirty episode. So I will catch you later. You can catch up with me on the website, sarastexturecrafts.com. You can also find me on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Ravelry as Sarah's Texture Craft. You can find me on Instagram too, but just, get in touch, let's chat wool. And I wish you all the best for 2014. So from me and Patch, I hope you dream in fibre. Cheers.